Why learning NLP models is so important. Keep watching. This is Life Mastery Gym. I'm Damon and I teach people just like you cutting edge NLP processes and techniques so that you can master your life and take charge of your destiny. So if that sounds good, make sure you click that subscribe button right down here so that you can get these videos on a regular basis. I've been learning NLP for the past 7 years and I've immersed myself into it. And in that time, I've become an NLP teacher and an NLP coach. What I've discovered is that there are two models that really stand out in particular. By the end of this video, you're going to know what I believe are the two most important NLP models. Now, I'm not suggesting that you only study these two models and no other NLP models, but you might want to focus on these two particular models. Put your attention on them, make sure you don't overlook them. Also, if you're interested in some free training on one of these models that I'm going to talk about, you'll find a link in the description below, also pinned in the comments to the top. And I'll be doing this training in 3 parts next week. So you want to make sure you get in on this, reserve your spot, and I'll talk a little bit more about this later in the video. First of all, I think it's really important to explain that NLP itself is a model. A lot of people say, well, what is NLP? And I've answered that question in so many different ways, but one way to answer that question is that NLP is a model. NLP is a model for modeling or a model for learning, but I like to still think of it as modeling because a lot of times when people think of learning, that they think of memorization or just sitting in a classroom, and NLP is not that. NLP is about the practical application and really practicing things. And so what NLP first started out as was a way to model how people do anything, but more specifically, how does someone do something very well? How is it that two people who pretty much do the same thing for a number of years, maybe even use the same method, don't have the same results? One person is much more successful than the other. Well, that points the direction internally. What's going on inside of a person? What are they focusing on? What are their thoughts? How are those thoughts structured? This is where NLP was born, in this idea of, well, what really makes the difference, what really is the difference that makes the difference is probably something internal. And we can go in there, so to speak, and figure out what that is. We experience life subjectively. No two people experience life the same way. So what NLP is, it's about understanding how we're creating that subjectivity within ourselves. How are we creating our unique experience? And we can focus that even more on, okay, well, if somebody's successful or if somebody's happy, then how are they having that unique subjective experience? Most of the techniques and processes that you find in NLP were taken from models that were created. So people wanted to figure out how to be more persuasive, how to be more influential, how to build rapport quickly. They found a person who did these things well, and then they modeled them. How do we work through some of the hardest problems that we have? How do we work through our limitations? So the founders of NLP found therapists who were really, really good at doing that, and then they created a model around it. So to summarize, NLP is a model for modeling. And over the course of years that NLP was being developed, they created techniques and processes from these models and started teaching these techniques and these processes. But really the truth is that that's not NLP. It's not NLP. It's just that that's not what NLP is really all about. NLP is really all about modeling. As I mentioned, I'm going to give you what I feel is the two most important NLP models, and I'll tell you why I believe that. The first one is the meta model. The meta model was the first NLP model ever created, and it's a language-based model. So why is it so important to learn the meta model? Especially if you want to really understand NLP and you want to become really good at NLP. Basically, the answers are in the meta model. It's a very much overlooked model because it's the oldest, and it's not a very sexy model because it's a language-based model. And most NLP students, they just gloss over it. A lot of times in an NLP practitioner training where the meta model is usually taught, they spend maybe not even a whole day on that model. And so most people don't understand much about it. They don't really know how to practice it. So they feel like, okay, well, I've got it. I learned the meta model. I learned it in this training and I have a certification to prove it. So therefore I know it. But no, if you can use the meta model effectively, and what I mean effectively, I mean on yourself and on others. That's really the standard for NLP. Are you effective using NLP on yourself and on others? That's how you know that you really have it. Words are an expression of how you think, and they're also a code of how you think. So understanding your words and how you're coding your thoughts and coding your feelings and coding your beliefs is really, really important to understanding them, and then from understanding them, being able to free them. So you want to free your thinking, you want to free your beliefs, you want to free yourself from problems which are normally created in thinking. And that's what the meta model does. It does it by recognition of language patterns. And then once you recognize the language pattern, you'll have a way of, you'll know how to challenge those patterns. And when you challenge those patterns, you have to go deeper into yourself to access the sensory-based information that you've become disconnected from, because language can do that. We can stop accessing what the words literally mean and get caught up in the concepts of the words. And when that happens, that's where the traps are. When you use the meta model, it forces you to go deeper back and recapture that connection with sensory-based information. And it grounds you, it opens your senses and your eyes to what's actually happening and what are the actual resources and solutions you have available to you. It holds the core of what NLP is all about, which is distortion, deletion, and generalization. This is how we filter the information we're receiving from the world around us. This is how we're representing or representing it internally. And you can go really deep with this model. So if you only practice it once or you've only practiced it for a week, you're going to need to do more than that. Go much, much deeper with it. And your understanding of NLP will grow along with this. So a lot of people think, well, if I'm putting all this time and attention on the meta model, I'm not learning these other things that I'd like to be learning. Well, you will learn those other things so much better when you go deep with the meta model. So hidden in the meta model, and I only say hidden because most people miss it. I don't think it's really hidden. It's actually in plain sight. But hidden in the meta model is the key to NLP. The next model I'm going to talk about is what I would call the key to life. And that is the self-concept model created by Steve Andreas, my mentor of many years before he passed away. The self-concept model is basically a model of how we create our sense of self. You can call that the ego, you can call that my self-image, whatever you want. It also explains why self-esteem is so mysterious and confidence is so mysterious. Like, it seems to come and go. I'm not going to get into the explanation of that right now because it's an in-depth explanation. And actually, this is the model that I'll be doing the free training on next week. So if you are interested in learning a lot more about this model and understanding those deeper explanations that I'm omitting from this video, you will want to get in on that training. Like I said, the link is right down here in the description below. The self-concept model, when I encountered it, was something that I didn't know that I was looking for, but it was what I was looking for. I was asking my teachers a lot of questions and I wasn't getting satisfactory answers. And then when I met Steve Andreas, I asked him all those same questions and he goes, oh, well, I think this is what you want to know. And it just so happened to change my life and then became my life's work and my focus because it is so amazingly powerful. What you project around you when you think about the life that you're living, the world that you're living in, whatever you think of as reality, it is a projection coming from yourself. There's no way that that is not happening. And because that is happening, it is your sense of self that dictates the world you live in, the reality that you're living, the meaning you make of it. When you're able to go in there and make changes to your self-concept, this changes everything. Now, the self-concept model is a little bit more advanced, but the great thing about it is you don't actually have to know NLP in order to understand it. Now, if you know NLP already and you practice NLP already, you'll definitely have a leg up. I mean, you already speak the language, so to speak. It'll be a lot easier, but you don't actually need to know NLP in order to access this model and make it work. And a lot of people think that it's complicated, but it's actually not. It's detailed. There are a lot of details to the model because we are complex people, but I don't actually think it's complicated. I've been able to teach this model to people who had no NLP background, and they've been able to put it to good use right away and get really effective results. So those are the two models, regardless if you're an NLP beginner or you're NLP intermediate or advanced. I highly recommend putting your attention on these models. I went back and studied the meta model several times, even after years of doing NLP training and feeling like I really had the model down. I would go back and revisit it. So wherever you are in your NLP journey, definitely put a lot of attention on the meta model, and then bring your attention to the self-concept model. You will be happy you did. Like I said, you don't need NLP training to get it. But it was amazing whenever I encountered it because I already had a lot of NLP training. I already knew NLP very well. But what I didn't understand is how NLP really worked. I understood how to get results. I understood how to be effective at it. I understood how to make it work for when I was using it on myself and how to make it work well when I was using it with other people. But I didn't quite understand it. And learning self-concept was like sort of like ripping the roof off the top of NLP and just looking down and into it and realizing, oh, okay, I get it now. I understand how all of this works. So it's learning these models really, really well and practicing them and going deep with them will absolutely change your life. So if you're ready to take the self-concept model even deeper, make sure you sign up for that free training. Like I said, if going on next week, depending on when you're watching this video, it may have already passed. But if you're watching this video in the week that it was published, make sure you get in on that training. It is free. I'm going to chunk it down into 3 parts so that it's really super easy to access for people, even if you have no NLP understanding whatsoever. So jump in on that training. If you like this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't already subscribed, make sure you do that right now by clicking that subscribe button and clicking the bell so that you'll be notified when new videos come out. Last but not least, if you know of a friend or a family member who you think would benefit from this video, make sure you share it with them. Take care.